Hey guys, welcome back. BDCKR here, and we're back with our weekly recap of all things Injustice. This is the week of December the 8th, 2022. Current challenge is Batman Ninja Lord Joker. It's a 1-week repeat, and the required characters are Harley Quinn, Deathstroke, and Joker, who are available as bronze, and silver respectively at their cheapest levels in the store. And there was clearly a missed opportunity here. I think instead of Deathstroke, somebody who's more closely tied to Batman Joker would have been Batman. You know, thematically would have been better, but I think for the players it's better because the lowest availability of Batman is as a gold character. Batman Ninja Lord Joker's passive is Cult of the Demon King. When the Joker KOs an enemy for 10 seconds, his attacks deal 100% life drain, and enemy life drain heals him. The second part of his passive is Gunner teammates' special attacks cause 20% damage to the opponent's tagged out teammates. Gunners are Deadshot, Deathstroke, Harley Quinn, Lobo, and the Joker. He's got 1500 attack and 1300 health, and he was last available February 10th, 2022. Alright, so let's talk about this Joker. Got two abilities in his passive. And the one that jumps out at me is his splash damage. So his splash damage is cool, but it really isn't game changing unless you really lean into it and make a team of gunners who are specialists, or use him as a specialist and add some more splash damage gear to really up the numbers from 20%. So even though the passive says it's gunner teammates, he gets to do splash damage himself. It's not just his teammates. So 20% splash damage on Special 1, as a point of comparison, it's not a huge amount compared to, say, League of Assassins Knives, which has 50%. But stacking it is interesting, right? Because you can get 70% out of it. And 20% on Special 2 would compare pretty favorably with Fourth World Mace, which gives only 15% on Special 2. So the difficulty is that tension about what your strategy is going to be with Batman Ninja Lord Joker is which gears do you use with only 3 slots, right? You could either try to max out the splash damage versus maxing out power generation so Joker can actually tag in ready to do some specials, or whoever it is that you're using as the person with the splash damage. The most tempting option is to have him with Flashpoint Deathstroke. The problem is, because he does a huge amount of Special 1, he's in that list of gunners, and he's probably the biggest Special 1 damage dealer in that list. But you're losing out on Pirate Crew damage that you would get with a full Flashpoint team in order to get that boosted splash damage with using Batman Ninja Lord Joker. So another potential teammate with synergy is Arkham Origins Deadshot, whose passive, which is 20% splash on shooting attacks, lets you get even more splash damage with Deadshot. But the biggest problem really is that if we're going to be focusing on Special 1, even though you could potentially have 70% splash damage, it's that Batgirl and Luchador Bane are not on that list. And the reason why they're so good with Special 1 is because they exploit their Special 1 splash by stunning first, or stunning at the beginning of their special, and then using Cloak or Necron Scythe, or maybe even both to stack it. Batman Ninja Lord Joker doesn't have any built-in stun opportunities. So even though with him with him on the team, you could get a very high percentage of splash damage, it's a higher percentage of less damage. So you're still not doing a lot of damage to both the opponent in front of you or to their teammates. And I guess the other strategy is you could use another teammate to stun, but then you really start limiting yourself in the options for team composition. And the biggest danger with leaning into that part of Batman Ninja Lord Joker's passive is that if someone on the other team is using Brandish Ninjato, pulls the splash damage on them, changes a bunch of it into power, so that when they tag in really ready to do at least a couple specials on you. So the other part of the passive, I've never really found that 10 seconds of life drain makes any sort of a difference. I'm a bigger fan of boosted offense. I guess you know that about both of us, that we are bigger fans of boosted offense instead of boosting defense, which is what any healing or life drain ability would be. I guess the biggest sort of value of him as a teammate is if you've got Batman and Catwoman, he's worth it even if he's complete dead weight, he does nothing else, because it saves her from being knocked out once. So for the challenges, that's 133 weeks now of a repeating pattern that first appeared May 2020. We have had 3 complete runs of a 43-week cycle, and we are the 4th week into the 4th cycle. If the pattern holds, next week is going to be Bounty Hunter Lobo. A reminder that there's still 23 challenge characters missing from the schedule that we've been following since May 2020. This week's multiplayer reward is Ares, and his passive is To the Death. When Ares performs the God Smack special, it shocks opponents, causing them to lose the ability to block for a limited time. He's got 1200 attack and 900 health. He was last available April 28th, 2022, and that's 101 weeks in a row of a consistent pattern of multiplayer rewards. That's 3 complete cycles of a 31 reward sequence, 8th in a 4th cycle, and unlike the challenge cycle, nothing is missing from multiplayer rewards. If the pattern holds, next week should be Master's Death card. So, just to point out, Godsmack special is his special 2. It is a one-hit special. He's got pretty low stats for a multiplayer exclusive, but they're weighted towards the damage, which is how we like him. He's part of the reason why that's the case is actually he was one of the first multiplayer exclusives, so his stats are more in line with what was happening around the time. The Godsmack special itself, so I want to point out that even though the wording says that it shocks them to lose the opponents to lose the ability to block for a limited time, it is actually unblockable itself. But if the opponent blocks when he does that special, it typically doesn't crit, so it may not do enough damage to knock out the opponent unless he's really outclassing them in terms of stats. The other danger is if the opponent has blocking gear that reflects damage, like Charged Disc, and that it's used when he's doing his Godsmack, Ares will actually take a bunch of damage, even though Godsmack will break the block. The second part of the passive, well, it's not technically the second part, the part where we're not looking at Godsmack, but what happens after if the opponent survives Godsmack is that he's a perfect teammate for Batgirl, as you can probably see in the background video that's running this week in our recap. Not only does she give him a second bar of power, but if his special 2 doesn't knock someone out, she can tag in for an unblocked Cloak of Destiny or Necron Scythe plus League of Assassin's Knives special 1 that does a ton of damage and splash damage. Or really, it's just that you need the stun boost damage, even if you don't bother with Assassin's Knives. And we've seen lately, and we've shown lately, where the ability to do splash damage with Batgirl isn't nearly as important as being able to knock out the person in front of you. So sometimes maybe what you want to do, instead of just boosting special 1 damage and splashing it, is to increase the likelihood that special 1 is going to crit. So a bit of the oral history of Ares is he used to be amazing. He was great for super fast multiplayer fights. And you can see that in the playlist that we've got in some of the earlier fights. But there is one huge counter against him, and that's Revive. So back in the day, one Revive or Resurrection, say from, Fourth World Gear Set, was not a problem. And way back when Fourth World Gear Set was introduced, the Revive was on 3 pieces, not 2. And the heal was on 2 pieces. And they ended up reversing that, I think, because healing in practice ended up being a much more powerful gear set ability. So again, one Revive wasn't a big deal because Batgirl Special 1, that was enough to take out the rest of the team. Now that there are so many common Revive possibilities, so you're looking at Blackest Night Hawkgirl for her entire team, you've got Necron Scythe, he's not nearly as fast as he could be. And because there's only the 2 gears that give power on tag in, which is Tantu Totem and Master's Death card, you can either give him both, so that if someone survives the first tag in, he can try again with his next tag in, or you give him only Tantu Totem and give Master's Death card to back row like we do in this video to help when he doesn't knock out somebody, but you can't do both. That slows down fights, and that means that you have to plan your fight a bit better and maybe be more aware of when the opponent has a revive. So our most recent strategy, which you might be able to see in some of the fights in this video, Hawk Girl, who's our third teammate, has Astra Harness and is our tank, so we keep her out of first slot. We tag in Ares, but only use 1 bar of power if we know that the opponent is going to potentially revive. Then you tag Batgirl back in for a special 1. And if it doesn't get us to our first revive, or sorry, to the opponent's first revive, like to knock them out, to trigger it, we just repeat with Ares doing special 1 and the Batgirl again until we can use a Godsmack and know that it will actually knock out the opponent and know that we will not be losing both bars of power and get them both back with Tantu Totem. The other counter against Ares, whose main feature is doing Godsmack repeatedly, which relies on Tantu Totem, that other counter is any kind of entry hazard, like Gaslight, Batman, which prevents Master's Death card from giving power, so you don't get the second bar, or Arkham Knight Harley Quinn, because her passive, if it triggers, means that you can't do a special 2 immediately against your opponent, and it leaves you vulnerable to getting smacked around. So again, playlist, we've done lots of variations with this team, and take a look. In the store, we've got Ultimate Bundle, Bringers of Justice. And this is pretty expensive, $125 Canadian. That's been the price for the last couple of years, but when it was first introduced back in 2019, it was only $66. Crept up to $99, then $95, and then eventually in 2021, it was $125, and it's been that way since. The copy for the pack says contains 10 of the best heroes. And you can take a look at the list yourself. The interesting thing to note is that all of them are challenges except the Dawn of Justice Batman, who was previously a random drop. It might almost be worth getting it for him, except you're paying for all these other characters and you're paying really sort of full price when you're paying $125. The other new pack this week is Bounty Hunter Lobo Challenge Pack for 200,000 credits. Now, if you compare that to the regular challenge pack that costs 150,000 credits, you're getting a slightly increased chance of getting Lobo, a 6.16% chance instead of 2.86% chance of getting him. It is a confirmatory clue to next week's challenge, but again, not worth it. Even if he wasn't likely coming next week, we've seen that with the challenge packs, unless you want nobody else, unless you're going to sell back every other character that you get from the challenge pack for credits, you're better off buying the regular challenge pack. It's just better value, even if it's only that 50,000 credits. And we've got the Justice League pack for the second week. We've also got the Survivor pack for the 48th week now, the Character Bundle Batman Universe for 53 weeks, Most Wanted pack for 60 weeks, and the Celebration packs that are 300 nth metal each. They have been around for at least 45 weeks, and that's the Shazam and Joker pack, and the Aquaman's been around for a couple extra weeks for 47 weeks. And the Phantom Zone is finished. Fight 62 is still broken. And last weekend's breakthrough for golds was, as expected, Catwoman, Deathstroke, and Raven. So this weekend's is probably going to be Cyborg, Batgirl, and Black Adam. There's a link in the description to a Reddit thread from Devlin16 that goes over the complete breakthrough cycle. And that's it for this week. So the end of the video is normally where we would have talked about current glitches. And as far as the current glitches go, we will go into more detail every time something significant changes, which did not happen this week. However, even if nothing changes, we still do a more detailed review once a month. And that's the first week of every month. So most recently, that was a recap from December the 1st. You can also see a video tutorial for every working glitch in our playlist, Current Glitches, linked in the description of this video and in the eye in the top right corner. The only thing worth mentioning is that the challenge reset glitch has been confirmed to be working on this week's Batman Ninja Lord Joker challenge. And that's it. So a big thank you to our patrons on Patreon. That's BomboBen, Console Peasant, and Edwoon supporting us at the top tier Last Word. Sinemac and Mohammed Albshaiti at the Your Message Here tier. Shawn, Farrell, Daniel Simonson, Aaron Maule, Michael DeVries, Brandon C., Irvin Ruiz, Eddydoo, and Hoshi127 at the credited level. And Chris Wolff, Scarlet, Dani, Awesomegamer 241, Pavu RS, Gavin, Mallott, and Isfar E at the gratitude level. And thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Komoda.